Hello again, and welcome back to the Slow Flowers Show with Deborah Prinzing. This is episode 582. Today you are in for a treat because in addition to my interview with Danielle Strawn of JoLee Blooms, we have two bonus videos that she and her team have filmed to share with us today. Danielle is a longtime Slow Flowers member who is a past guest of the Slow Flowers podcast. We spent several days together in the spring of 2016 when Danielle organized a Slow Flowers in California North Bay Area extravaganza. Danielle was my guide to tour flower farms, visit design studios, and learn more about the stories of the emerging community for local flowers in that area. She had a few cameo appearances during the 4-part podcast series that I recorded on that tour. But this episode is devoted entirely to Danielle's story and JoLee Blooms. This episode begins with a field and studio tour recorded by Emma Wood and Danielle. Emma works for JoLee Blooms. And that is followed by my interview with Danielle. And then we'll wrap up with a design demonstration that Danielle filmed in her studio. Together, these segments will give you a full picture of this wonderful farmer-florist. Let's jump right in and get started. I'll share our sponsor thank yous after the interview.
Hi, I'm Danielle Strawn, and I own JoLee Blooms in Design, and I'm out here in our lower field. When I started JoLee Blooms in Design in 2016, I was growing and designing on a different property, but since then I've been able to have everything coalesce here in the small town of Bloomfield where I live. And we have our seed sowing greenhouse at the property where I live. And then we have our lower field, which is the first field we moved into here in town in 2018. We're going to show you our upper field, which we moved into in the spring of 2021. So we're going into our second winter in that field. And then we also have our studio, which we're going to show you, that's here in town. And that's where we do all of our design work. So I think that about covers everything I wanted to introduce to you guys. Besides that, I'm going to pass this on to Emma Wood, who's filming me right now. She's our flower sales and field manager, and she's also a really talented designer for all of our wedding work and helps manage weddings as well. We are all kind of jack of all trades around these parts, but she does a lot and she manages these fields. So she's going to tell you about what's going on out here.
Hi, I'm Emma Wood. Welcome to our lower field for JoLee Blooms in Design here in the town of Bloomfield. Right now I am standing in between blocks 1 and 2 of our 4-block fields. This field is about a half an acre, little less. It's not all in production right now. These two top blocks, this first block is all perennials. The first bed is daffodils, which we're actually planning on interplanting with sweet peas this year. Then we get into some grasses, some veronica, a couple beds of roses, and then our geranium bed that goes into some Lismachia and eryngium. We do have to cover our geranium for the winter because it gets too cold here. So scented geranium, we have chocolate and rose, and then we have some more chocolate. We really like the chocolate. This is our second block, another swath of roses. We're going to be replacing a bunch of these this winter. This was all digitalis, but will be turned over, and we're going to plant poppies here for the winter. This is something that we do as just a tool for weed mitigation that you'll also see in the upper field. Once we pull our plants, we immediately cover it with black plastic. This is landscape fabric, which isn't totally ideal. Using silage tarps is more ideal, which you'll see over in block 4 and block 3, but it still works. It keeps the moisture in, it keeps the weeds away, and it's just really important to protect your soil and not have bare soil to the elements. This is the second flush of some Lysianthus that we might get a few stems from, but our first frost date usually happens already at this time, so we're just kind of seeing what happens with it, but it'll get turned over and cover cropped for the winter. These are some more roses. We have a full bed of cocos, and then some honeybees that go into distant drums. This is Celosia, vintage Texas plume. That's the one of our big silage sharks that's covering an area that was cover cropped and hasn't been worked yet this season because we have symphylans. If you know what symphylans are, look them up. They're awful. This is a sweet pea bed that we've planted some and we're gonna plant the rest. This will be overwintered. This is just mixed annuals. We have huge gopher problems in Bloomfield and in California in general. If you experience that, I feel your pain. We've got, you know, it's the end of October, so it really is the end of our summer annuals, but these are just kind of some old Cosmos into some Sahara. These two beds I broad forked earlier today. They're gonna get composted, and then we really just do like a tilth, like a low till, you know, 3 to 4 inches deep into the soil, just to make sure that we're incorporating our compost. We'll use about 6 wheelbarrows of compost on each of these beds. And then this is another Lysianthus bed, another silage tarped area from other crops that have already been pulled. And then we have our thornless blackberries, which we use for design. And then once they turn black, we use them for eating. So yeah, this is our lower field and it's great. We love farming here. We have a pretty nice climate. It's definitely temperate. We have the ocean influence, and the only thing I would say that we sometimes want that we don't have in Bloomfield is for our flowers to bloom faster than they do, because of the temperate climate, sometimes things are a little slow. So here's one of our papas. This is Cora, and we got Ryder, who's around. There's Ryder. And now we're at our upper fields here in Bloomfield. This is our deer fencing and our gate. This is about a quarter acre. And we rent from one of our neighbors. This field has a mix of perennials and annuals. As you'll see, we have a few beds that are kind of like getting ready to be planted for the spring. We just planted some snapdragons, and this is a bed of Digiplexus. If you've never seen Digiplexus or worked with it before, it's an amazing plant. It's a short-lived perennial. And we had all of our dahlias planted up here this year. We're going to be putting in a bed. That first bed is going to be heuchera and hellebores because it gets partially shaded out. So this is dahlias right now that are going to get dug next week, hopefully. And then the other perennials that we have in the field are delphinium, some mixed eucalyptus, and one bed of lavender. But we're hoping to put some more possibly woody shrubs up here, and yeah, just expand on our perennial offerings because perennials are great and we love them. You'll see our delphinium beds that just mostly got cut back. We were really lucky to have delphinium super late into the season. I mean, we still have new growth coming on these plants, and it's October, almost November, which is pretty crazy for us. All of the plants that are tagged are plants that we're going to be removing and putting in a different variety. And then we have more digitalis, more dahlias that are going to get dug. This is a lavender bed, and then a mixed bed of eucalyptus, which we'll be cutting down pretty low, probably like 2 feet above ground, so then those can all regenerate. This is first year eucalyptus, so we've just basically let it grow. We haven't really cut off of it at all, and we're just hoping that next year we're going to get a really good crop out of it. So thanks for stopping by.
Okay, so we're in our studio now. This is actually a old, it's like 2-car garage that we're renting out from some of our neighbors. You know, what we really knew we needed was a big enough space to be able to contain all of our design work, and then also be able to have a space that we could use as a cooler. And this actually opened up when we were looking for where we would go. We thought it would be like a little bit hipper, a little bit cooler, but this is actually really convenient because it's located in our small town. and it also is rather affordable. So as long as you have a roof over your head and some temperature control, you can do a lot with whatever space you're given. And it's been a really special space for us to grow into. We have all of our design wear is on these shelves, which all came with the shelves all came with the garage. And then we've got our design tables, which as you can see are just plastic folding tables, which are very versatile because we can use them in here, but we can also bring them on site with us if we need to. We did actually go ahead and get some furniture lifts, like for beds or for other furniture, and we just made them into our table lifts. So that would be a little bit more ergonomical designing on our tables versus we had designed on the tables at this height for a couple years when we realized we were kind of hurting our backs for no reason. So that's a helpful tip. We also have a mat for everybody's feet and just helpful for everyone's back on these concrete floors. So all of our workstations, all the 4 workstations have their own mats. We were lucky to score these tall mirrors from a neighbor when they were remodeling, and they're actually rolling closet door mirrors, and they work great. They're full length, and we're able to see the designs that we're working with in them. So we're very appreciative. We've got our dog beds. We've got some candle collections down there. We have all of the materials we need for doing foam-free installations on the shelves packed up over there. We've got quite a bit of dry material that we can bring in from the field, or if we buy in other goods from other people's farms that we end up not using all of for a wedding, or just, want to dry in general for either our use for wreath making or to sell to other people for their own dry crafts projects. We have like our little desk station. We have all of our design supplies, floral tape, wire, glues, baskets, floral frogs, everything kind of gets housed over there. And then we have like our clean buckets, and we have what we call our dishes, our dish station, which is all of our baseware from previous weddings. And then this is like dirty buckets and dirty vases that need to still come through. Have a little kitchen net kind of thing. Really great tip for a studio. Make sure you have some kind of coffee maker. We learned that from Pistol and Stamen. Shout out to them for having that in their studio. It saved us, and it saved us many times to have it here. This is our cool room, which is turned off right now. But it was just a perfectly insulated, almost exactly the right size space that we were able to work with. And then Jeremy, my husband, was able to concoct this external wooden piece that we were able to mount this window AC unit and then hook it up with a cool box. So we keep it at about 42, is it 42 degrees? Yeah. And that works out really well for us. And then this is our one room in the studio that has amazing light. Wish all the studio had this light, but this is where we take photos. And then I also did a design demo in here for all of you guys. So this is a pretty awesome space. So this is our studio, and we're so happy to get to share it with you guys.
That was great. Thank you so much. And now I'm going to share the interview I recorded with Danielle, and then we're going to do the design demo last. Well, we're in our studio now, so I can talk face to face with Danielle Strawn. Hi, Danielle.
Hi, Deborah.
It's just so great to see you. We were reminiscing before we started recording. Well, thank you for that great farm growing area and studio tour, because I think it's so easy for people to picture the scale of what you're doing now. And then at the end of this, after our conversation, we'll have a really fun design demo and see some of those flowers put into a beautiful purpose. So I want to I've already said this in the introduction, that we've been friends for a long time, that you reached out to me in 2016 and introduced yourself. And from that came this phenomenal visit I got to come spend with you in April of 2016 in North Bay. And at the time you had a different business. It was called Chica Bloom Farms, but very soon after you transitioned into creating JoLee Blooms. So we want to talk about that today, and I've got lots of questions for you. So thank you for doing this. Number one, I appreciate you so much.
Thank you.
Um, what what is the sort of elevator pitch for JoLee Blooms? How do you describe the business, and maybe what are the facets that you can sort of share with people in terms of being a farmer florist?
Okay, well, thank you so much, Deborah, for having me on the show, but also just for everything you do for Slow Flowers. The mission is just so amazing about how the word is getting out about the importance and the quality of local flowers and the amount of connection you have brought to every one of us in the flower community. It's very special.
Thank you. I felt very included in your world too.
Oh, good. So JoLee Blooms, I started in 2016, in the summer of 2016, and a funny time to start a flower growing and designing business, but that was just when it happened. And at first I was located in my business was located in a different town than the one that I live in. And since then I've been able to puzzle piece together everything into the little small town of Bloomfield where I live. And so I have my home property and greenhouse my seed growing greenhouse on the same property. And then we have two small fields that we rent from nearby neighbors who both have like 2-acre properties, and they've rented out a 1/4 acre of their fields to us. So collectively we have about a 1/2 acre. And then another neighbor has this big, huge, old like 2-car barn workshop that once was it's always been a maker space. Actually, it was a ceramic studio for the original landowners, and then it became like a mechanic tinker's hoarder's den, tinker space before it became our design studio space. So together we have everything in this. It's like a 4-block country town, and we can literally walk from property to property, although there's many times where we have a van full of flowers going from one property to the next.
Yeah. Where is Bloomfield in North Bay area in terms of what would people recognize in terms of a close location?
Sure. Like from our door to the Golden Gate Bridge, we are about 45 minutes north of the Golden Gate Bridge, and we're out towards the coast. So like people might head up into Sonoma County. We're in Sonoma County, which is north of Marin County. And people might head up to the town of Petaluma or Santa Rosa, but we're west of there towards the coast.
Okay, great.
So we have a lot of coastal influence, which
you mentioned
really great for growing.
Yeah, or maybe it might have been Emma who mentioned how mild and temperate it is because of that. It's just so interesting to think about, somebody could look at this, and you sent us a graphic of this town map, and I'm going to share that of where everything is. And it is really like is there a stoplight in town, or is it just a stop sign town?
Stop signs. Yeah.
But how, it sounds like very scattered. Oh my gosh, you have 4 locations, but you're probably more efficient than if you had to drive, I don't know, 30 minutes to some other place where everything was together, because you're just building your lifestyle around this routine of walking to where your growing area is, or driving to pick up things you've harvested, and then your design studio. It just sounds really nice, really well thought out.
It is. And, in Sonoma County, I think a lot of people in California and maybe a lot of other places in the United States are dealing with, such inflated prices for home ownership. And so we're really trying to look at being able to eventually buy land and working towards that. But right now we're renters. And so to be able to rent both, our home, our studio space, and our growing space, and have it all connected in this little network of a town, it's huge. We're so grateful.
And you said relatively affordable, like the studio. It's like there's a little bit of a relationship there between all of your landlords and you. They support what you're doing.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And, sometimes, I mean, because I am I want to run this professional business that is sustainable and accounts for what if I have to move and my next landlords aren't as supportive and I even have to kind of push my field landlords to be like, no, we're going to sign a yearly contract and we're going
Mm.
to pay you the fair going rate for farmland for this scale, just because they love having somebody in their field who's taking care of their property, who's bringing beauty to it, that they think it's like a gift we're giving them, which in
Mm.
a lot of ways
Mm.
it is, but we're also very
Yeah.
grateful for the land and the water that they let us use.
I noticed that the drip irrigation was installed at both farms, so your
Yeah.
lease includes use of their water.
Yes. Yep.
Wow,
hmm
that's amazing.
And
But
and
go ahead.
everything in our rural property, which a lot of people in rural areas can probably relate to, is the water is well water. It's not metered, but the electricity to pump the water is what our rent helps cover
Oh, I
on
see.
their
Okay.
end. hmm
Okay, that makes sense. So not to get so down in the weeds, but it's really interesting because I think it's like you said, well water is an issue for many growing areas, especially agricultural regions. Um, okay, so you and Emma are working full time on the farm, right? It sounds like
Yes.
and then your partner Jeremy is on tap whenever you need him. Is that sort of how you divide the labor?
Yes, definitely. And as the business has grown, I was the one jack of all trades in the very beginning. And I'd hire, help as needed for big pushes, or Jeremy would come out and help me with a big push. But as the business grew and I realized that I really needed somebody else, I wanted to, hire somebody that I could hire full time. In this economy where we live, to hire someone part time is really almost like a disservice, and
Mhm.
in the sense that we need a living wage here in this area. So I really wanted to build a full time position that someone could rely on. And so when I got to that scale, Emma was the perfect person to jump in. She has an amazing farming background. She actually went to the CASFIS program at Santa Cruz, and then she interned with Zoe Hitchner at Front Porch Farm, and then she worked with Hedda at Full Bloom Farm, Hedda Barstrom, and so she has a really great both farming and design background before she came to us. And we had hired her for many of our freelance work with different weddings before we
Oh,
hired. So we knew she was going to be a really great fit, and she's really helped to be a consistent force out in the fields and keeping flowers going, while I'm turning more and more inward towards, client relations and spending more time on the computer than I
yeah,
would love sometimes, but it's also
yeah.
an important part of building the business.
Well, you're the rainmaker. You're bringing in the business. You have to be the first point of contact when someone is inquiring about a wedding, probably.
hmm Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we are training Emma more and more into that space as well. What we're working on a concept right now is, like, we had really defined roles this year. But what that meant is that there was a lot of time where Emma's out in the field and I'm solo on the computer and on the phone and prepping things in the studio. And so there was a lot of divided time, and we really
Mhm,
love working with each other
mhm,
too. We like some of our own time, but we really like working with
mhm.
each other too. So we're kind of trying a new approach for 2023, where we're getting her more into the bookings process and client management process, where maybe that will get me back out into the field more too.
I was thinking about that when I watched the video, and I thought how nice must be for you to have a co-farmer to choose varieties and talk about troubleshooting. And I mean, it just seemed like because your selection of what you grow is so specific to what you design, that you kind of decide these things together and evaluate flowers that you want to keep and decide who's going to get kicked out of the farm. And like you were talking about the tags that you put on certain varieties, and that was your way of knowing that they would be replaced. I mean, is that sort of an
hmm
ongoing conversation
Oh
that
yeah.
you and Emma have?
Yeah, yeah, and it's funny because we all have our flowers that are like our most sentimental flowers that we just love so much, and really attracted to all things spikes. So foxglove, delphinium, digiplexus, and snapdragons. And I used to just try to grow every variety of and color of snapdragons. And we've really, with Emma's help, have honed which ones are the ones that we really need for our design work. And I can't have every color of snapdragons.
Well, I felt like there was a distinct palette when and people will see your design in the next segment, that is must be just so on trend for the wedding customers that are coming to you. And I hate to use the word trend, but these colors are in the consciousness of couples for their ceremonies. So, or are you pushing those colors? I just am curious.
Yeah, I think color is a great question because yes, we are growing what we know year after year kind of continues to trend. Even if there's, new Pantone colors that hit the scene a couple years later and then they become popular, still there's a base of like creams and blushes and muted colors that will blend with even like the more robust colors. So even if we have to for a wedding buy in, from another local farm, something that's brighter or bolder than we have in our field, we still have a lot of stuff to be able to work as, the base and the blenders.
That makes sense. So your core crop is in that beautiful, I don't know, like sepia tone palette. But if someone wants a primary color, you've got lots of friendly farmers that are in your cohort that you can just source from.
Yes.
For a sunflower or something.
Yeah,
I did that
love, just a bit ago.
Did you? I did love
for an early October wedding. Yeah.
Yeah, I did love the whole rose section with the distant drums, Coco Loco, and Honey Dijon. I was like, oh, they've got this down. I mean, those are the roses that would cost a fortune to buy in, and you're keeping maybe your margins better because you're growing those for your weddings.
Yeah, I wonder about that. We talk about it, and we're really getting to a stage with our business where we're able to see numbers consistently. And thankfully, my husband, Jeremy, is our bookkeeper. Our financial manager is his official title. And he's been doing a great job with QuickBooks over the last few years and really helping us to track in a more consistent way than I was able to do when I was the jack of all trades. And, to see what we spend on growing, both like time, amendments, plants, the whole process, and then to try to break that down with how much we're essentially, our design business is also buying back from us.
Right.
I think we spend more money than if we were to just buy in flowers. However, we're so passionate about being out in the field and getting to spend time out there with the flowers and having the opportunity to pick the perfect flowers for that wedding, the ones that are going to be in the bridal or the standouts in the arbor or whatever, the standout flowers almost always come from our field. And the quality that we're delivering, we know we're doing something really special because we feel it, but also the amount of wedding professionals and guests and mothers of the brides who are just like, I've never seen flowers like this before. Like, I know and especially in the slow flowers world, there are a lot of people who can relate to this, but in general, we're in such a big wedding market that a lot of people in this market don't get fresh flowers from straight out of their field, or not enough people are buying from the local farms and getting that quality product. And so there's just, a wedding market where there's, tons of weddings every single weekend. The caterers, the planners, they see a ton of flowers and they're just like, these are different. There's something really cool about these. Wow. And so we know we're doing something special, but we still have to charge our customers right now the sort of like similar price range that to be competitive. We're not like distinguished enough that we get to charge what it's actually worth. But but there's
you're
just
moving
a value to it anyways. Yeah.
So I was just doing the math. So this is your 7th season as JoLee Blooms. I mean, you're just almost had your 7th anniversary in July, right?
Yep.
Wow. And what has changed in that arc of time? Have you expanded the type of weddings you're doing and the just your emphasis on weddings and events and let some other things go? Because I know people have to make these decisions.
I know.
You're not going
Yeah,
to the farmer's market anymore, I'm sure.
not going to farmer's market anymore. And, we did for 2020 with the pandemic really have to refocus. And we were so lucky to have a field full of flowers to be able to say, okay, we don't have any weddings in the foreseeable future. Let's do a flower share. And we marketed that, and that kept us going. We delivered
good.
to all over Sonoma County, into Marin, and even into San Francisco. And so we did lots of elevated market bouquets is kind of what they were, because they had our flowers that were really intended for weddings, not
getting
for farmers market.
Like gorgeous focal flowers that you wouldn't normally see in a park.
Roses, jolly, the whole works, and they loved it. And we got really excited that maybe this is something we can continue to do. But as people started to reemerge from their homes and get back out and spend money on other places, the interest waned to continue to pay for that. So it was a great thing that we were able to do during that time, and we loved it. The field was pristine because all three of us were out there working in the field almost every single day all together. So that was a difficult time, but that was also a fun time. But so right now, while at that same time, we also offered quite a bit of online shopping for folks to be able to choose from, like small, medium to large special occasion bouquets for us to deliver to friends and family. And we had quite a robust online shop at that point in time that was pretty active. And then, just as 2021 weddings reemerged in full, still recovering from 2021.
Oh my gosh, I can't imagine.
And 2022 hasn't really been any easier, or hasn't had, it has been just as much of a push in most ways. We realized that, we can't offer a flower share. We can't offer just weekly, an
Every
order
day.
Come in randomly here and there throughout the week. And so we've taken down our online shop, and we've stopped our flower share, and we're just focusing on weddings. And then we also do have a few retail florists that we sell to on a regular basis who are huge supporters and have been with us for many years. Some of them, even since the days when I was back in Occidental, when I was first JoLee Blooms, are still with us. Sarah Reyes, from
Wildflower and Fern.
Wildflower and Fern.
Yeah. Wow. Does she drive up and pick up flowers from you, or do you guys have some kind of way that you meet halfway?
So we've done different setups. We've dropped off to her. We've dropped off at the Marin Farmers Market where she shops on Thursday mornings. And then, but most of the time she has come up and done a route to different farms, and we're on that route. Yeah. She's so dedicated. It's amazing. Yeah.
We had her on the podcast last summer when I was coming through town. And so I do remember her talking about that. But that's cool. Like, you're kind of curating your wholesale business for specific florists who are not just occasionally buying, but have this consistency, because you need to know that too, right?
Yeah. Well, and they're really the right kind of florist, because they know that we're primarily growing for our events, and that we don't, our consistency isn't going to be each week you're going to get X number of this and that, or, it's like it wanes, it changes. Sometimes when we don't have a wedding week, we have a lot more to offer them, and they're pretty much there for it. They're there for it all. Great.
They're like, we know we can sell this, whatever you have, whenever you have it. That's awesome. Yep. Wow. So I kind of hate this question, but I'm just curious, when you said 2021 was intense with weddings, like how many weddings did you produce for last year, and what's it been like this year? Like, do you even have a normal anymore?
I don't think we have a normal. We have a goal. We don't have a normal. Last year we were just shy of 40 weddings, which was a lot for us. And they were all different scales. And, a lot of those weddings we had received the initial deposit for back in 2019. So it was like a weird year of just hustle, push. And then at the end, you were kind of like, well, what just happened financially?
Right.
But
Did we make any money? Yeah.
And we made it through again. And then this year has been, I think we're
just somewhere above 30 weddings, like 32, I'm pretty sure. And then we've had some other like special events as well as weddings. And that number feels a lot better. And the weddings are getting, the budgets are getting bigger. And so that's also exciting to see that we're like starting really consistently to grow into the next level, which we've really set our minimums to the next level too now. We've gotten comfortable to say, this is what we feel comfortable doing a full. So we offer two different options. We offer full service, and what the distinguish, like what distinguishes it as full service is that there's going to be some type of installation involved for sure. Right. That kind of puts it into the full service. We're going to need a team of people to install your wedding.
You're going to be on site for longer and that sort of thing.
Yeah. And then we also do have basically what's an a la carte package, and we call that our From the Garden package. And that package is really honed in for people with smaller budgets or fewer floral needs, and that they can either come to our studio and pick up everything packaged, or we can just go and deliver to one spot on site, and we're not doing any. We used to offer that service with us also setting things out as an additional fee, but we've decided just to distinguish the two really clearly. This is a pickup or simply a delivery, and everything will be beautiful, and you are responsible for setting it out.
Wow. I love it.
Yeah.
Well, I'm excited that you have filmed a little demonstration of a signature JoLee Blooms centerpiece, which is just, I got to see it already. So I'll just say, so beautiful. And I'm glad we're going to wrap up with that. But before we close this portion of the interview, I want to just talk about, wintertime transition and what your plans are for 2023, because I think that's we're here at the end of October, and you're probably has had this on your mind for a while.
Yeah. And you know what? That's a great question, Deborah. I think we've been, just pushing so hard to get here. And I'm excited that we're growing fewer overwintered crops. The crops that we are growing are ones that don't require a ton of attention. So we're going to actually take some time to reflect and to brainstorm and to dream in a way that we're still usually even pushing through the winter, and we don't give ourselves enough downtime. Right, so that's exciting. And we do have a pretty good sized fundraiser event that we get to be a part of and do for the Alzheimer's Foundation in Napa. And this will be our second year doing the florals for them. And so that's in December. So we'll have like a little push there. And then we have a February wedding. So we'll have that to, keep our designs going throughout. But there was a lot of
keep January sacred, right?
Keep January sacred and book weddings, so that the goal really always is, and it hasn't ever fully come to fruition, but if we could just have our year 100% fully booked, like by March something, and just be really focusing on the growing and the designing and not the booking of the rest of the weddings later on out, that would just be great. So that's the goal.
Okay. I wish that for you. That makes that would be just so great. Not only to get you back into the farm and away from the desk, but also you would be almost custom growing for these weddings. And that would really benefit those customers if they understood that the earlier they book, the more special, not the more special, but they would get a special attention in the field. That'd be cool.
Definitely. Yeah.
All right. Well, my goal is to come visit you in 2023. I would just love to see where you are and visit your little town. There's no excuse.
And we'll do a tour again of any places you want to, any other farms you want to see, any other studios.
Danielle, that time we were together, I honestly, that was when I was like, I want her to work for me. She's thinking of things that I need before I think of them. Like, you had this amazing project management background that you brought to that experience, and I loved it. It was really fun. It was fun to be with you for that kind of.
It was so fun to be with you.
Intensive, and you found places for me to stay and food for me to eat and people for me to meet. I loved it so much. So yeah, we need to get that on the calendar for 2023. Maybe. Okay, well, that was sort of cut off, but you get the gist of how much fun I had with Danielle, and so happy to have her back on the podcast. I'm going to add her design video now for you to watch, and then we'll wrap up.
I just wanted to show you one way that we often will create like smaller round table centerpieces, maybe for like an 8-person round table for a wedding. I just want to show you the mechanics real quick so you see that how we do it without floral foam. I make like an S. I don't know, I think this might be a backwards S for you, but there's like a bottom section, a middle section, and then an upper section that gets crunched down into the bowl. That way every stem that I place in here has like 2 to maybe 3 different points of contact that are holding it in place. And so I'm really trying to create infrastructure that I'm not gonna have to like move my stems around a whole bunch. As I design, the stems will go where they go and they'll mostly stay put. There, the next step is to tape it off. I like to use clear tape for these bowls. Depending on what the vessels are, I'll either use clear tape, sometimes I'll use like a super white sticky tape, or I'll use the green tape. It just all kind of depends on the vessel and how strong the tape needs to be. I do a cross, one strip across one section, and then another strip across the opposite side, and then I do a lip around the vase. That way, it really holds everything in there. I'm coming around to show you guys up close. So it's just across and across, and then there's a little lip around it. And you can see that it's glossy there and that there's tape. But once I fill it with all of the different foliage and flowers that I fill it with, you're not gonna really see it. We have some scented geranium here. And I'm just using this to create a little bit of framework. I don't know if I want to use too much more of this. I am just going to look at shape. Where else do I want some element to go? I think I'd like to try to put something right about in here. Cool. I have learned that it's kind of fun to put in some amount of floral or color besides greenery into the vase. Also, what you can do is just take like a little piece of the geranium and pop it in there just to kind of help cover up a little bit more of the mechanics. Cool. I think that looks pretty good. I'm not sure how well you all can see it, but it's got a little bit of speckle of color throughout. And now I'm going to put another layer of some speckle of color with my cherry caramel flocks. I'm just following the lines that I've already created with the foliage that's in here already. I should have said that the scented geranium I'm using is a chocolate geranium. What I think I want to do next is I want to layer in a few of these darker lisianthus. So I do like to try to put most of my darker elements kind of tucked down in for the lighter elements to like pop in front of. So what I did is I put 2 of these browns tucked down here, and then I put a brown on the opposite side tucked here. So whatever I put on top, I'll probably like mirror it on either side. I think right now I'm gonna go in with a few Coco Loco roses. So what I've done with these is I just like put them on this side and on this other side, just right here for now. Maybe we'll put some more in a minute. I want to make sure to get a few of these really cool Sahara Rudbeckia in the mix. Ooh, I should have been doing this the whole time. I'm really liking the way that this side is looking. This side is looking pretty all right. And then of course, got to remember that there's people who are sitting and need to have some fun elements over here to look at. So I usually remember those ones at the last moment. I don't know if I'm going to use these apricot lemonade cosmos, which I love. They're just a little scraggly, and at this time of year, they're mostly really yellow versus the apricot color. The apricot color is just really showing on the back side, and internally they look really yellow. But they're so twinkly and fun. I might work them in here. Okay, I think I'm gonna toss in a couple of these really pretty foxglove. Gotta love the foxglove. And I'm just gonna pop out this foxglove over here to give it a little bit more of a moment. Cool. That's fun. Dahlias. Do you want to sneak in any dahlias? Well, sure. Maybe. This is a Sweet Natalie. And is it Sweet Natalie or Sweet Nathalie? I'm not sure. I've heard it both ways. Just don't like how erect it's sticking in there. I really kind of want to get it like this. Trim it a little bit lower. I just want it to kind of go at an angle. That. Okay, that's kind of cute. Yeah, there she is. And then we have these white ball, like little tiny dahlias that are called Small World. They're cute. I'm just going to see about adding in a little depth over on this side right here with this guy. Cute, cute, cute. Okay. I'm just popping in a few more elements to kind of round out the design. A rose here. Do I like that rose there? I like it. But I feel like it was a little bit lonely and it needs somebody else to really help it have its moment. Make its primo debut. Oh, I like this. So I have this honey Dijon I'm working in here, and it goes really nicely with these apricot lemonade cosmos that are like a little bit of this yellow element that I was questioning, does it work? Should I have put it in there? And I think it works. I am going to try to figure out how to just say this is good enough. But yeah, overall, building a nice base, getting some good mechanics down that help you build a nice base with greenery, add in some filler and some fluff, add in some depth with some darker flowers, and then pop it out with some lighter, fluffier, fuller focal flowers. And and then come back in and add in a little bit of twinkle in spots. And then that's kind of a solid concept for a good recipe for being able to make a fun and interesting garden inspired, garden wild centerpiece. So not sure if you can see this really well, so I'm going to try and take some photos in front of the good light before it fades.
Oh, that was so great. Danielle, thank you so much for sharing your story, your business, your fields, your studio, and your gorgeous designs with us. It's really inspiring. You'll want to visit slowflowerspodcast.com to watch the replay video of today's conversations. Look for episode 583. We'll also have a gorgeous gallery of field and studio photography that you can find in the show notes that JoLee Blooms shared with us. And you'll also find links to their social places so you can follow along with Danielle on her journey. Before I go, I'd also like to thank our sponsors who bring this show to you. This show is brought to you by slowflowers.com, the free online directory to more than 850 florists, shops, and studios who design with local, seasonal, and sustainable flowers, and to the farms that grow those blooms. It's the conscious choice for buying and sending flowers. And thank you to our lead sponsor, Farm Grow Flowers. Farm Grow Flowers delivers iconic burlap wrap bouquets and lush, abundant arrangements to customers across the U.S., supporting U.S. flower farms by purchasing more than $10 million of U.S.-grown fresh and seasonal flowers and foliage annually. Discover more at farmgrowflowers.com. Thank you to the Gardener's Workshop, which offers a full curriculum of online education for flower farmers and farmer-florists. Online education is more important than ever, and you'll want to check out the course offerings at thegardenersworkshop.com. Thank you to Details Flowers Software, a platform specifically designed to help florists and designers do more and earn more. With an elegant and easy-to-use system, Details helps improve profitability, productivity, and organization for floral businesses of all shapes and sizes. You can grow your bottom line through professional proposals and confident pricing with Details all in one platform. And all friends of the Slow Flowers Show will receive a 7-day free trial of Details Flowers software. Just check out detailsflowers.com. And thank you to Mayesh Wholesale Florist. Family owned since 1978, Mayesh is the premier wedding and event supplier in the U.S., and we're thrilled to partner with Mayesh to promote local and domestic flowers, which they source from farms large and small around the U.S. Learn more at mayesh.com. The Slow Flowers Show is a member-supported endeavor, and I value our loyal members and supporters. If you're new to our weekly show or our long-running podcast, check out all of our resources at slowflowerssociety.com and consider making a donation to sustain Slow Flowers' ongoing advocacy, education, and outreach activities. You can find that donate button at slowflowerspodcast.com. I'm Deborah Prinzing, host and producer of The Slow Flowers Show and the Slow Flowers Podcast. Next week, you're invited to join me in putting more slow flowers on the table, one stem, one vase at a time. The content and opinions expressed here are either mine alone or those of my guests alone, independent of any podcast sponsor or other person, company, or organization. Thanks so much for joining us today, and I'll see you